I do a workshop or a talk where I'll have different speakers come in, and people are like, oh, how much business did you get from the event? I said, absolutely none. And they're like, oh, that's too bad. I was like, nope, that was the plan. And that comes down to like call marketing, right? We've already figured out why we do events and the cadence in which we do those events. And so it allows me to relax if I don't get any clients. It's a part of our overall marketing strategy because of everything else it brings. It creates this opportunity to network with people that maybe you would not have networked before.
All right, so I'm here today with Jake Mooney. I'd love if you could just start off by telling us who you are and what you're doing here in Thailand.
Sure. Thanks for having me on, Scott. I've been in Thailand 6 years. I run a marketing agency here, a small marketing agency based in Chiang Mai. But we also have remote team members kind of all over the world. We've been around a few years. We kind of grew during the pandemic. And so we mostly help small to medium-sized multinational businesses extend their marketing teams, help them with their marketing strategy. And we also do a lot of remote video editing, quite bespoke video editing.
Very cool. And again, video, we'll definitely be touching on that a lot in the discussion today because I've seen you everywhere. And that's the reason that we got connected was because you're so active on LinkedIn with video. And I think at one point I said, oh yeah, Jake, I really agree with this point on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I think then you said, oh, hey, let's meet up. And I think that's just so cool how much video and social, when done right, really does inspire these kind of connections.
It does. And that's the marketing strategy at work because for a few years, we were doing this kind of stuff for our clients and doing it well, right? But you can't grow if other people don't know you exist. And so eventually me and the team sat down, we're like, okay, the marketing agency needs to get a marketing strategy. So this connection and, us chatting now basically comes from us enacting our own advice we give to our clients of kind of calm, sustainable, reasonable marketing activities that just kind of build up over time and are things that you can keep doing without, losing your head, losing your mind is the intention.
Absolutely. The reason I reached out and got connected with you originally, Jake, is because I trusted you. And I think it's really important that the people that you work with or just that you meet, it's like people that have similar values and people that you can trust. And so I want to get to know you a little bit better. I want the audience to get to know you a little bit better. So you had mentioned that you're based in Chiang Mai. So what made you decide on Chiang Mai?
Long story short, my wife is an American citizen, born and raised in Chiang Mai. So we got married. I took a job in Poland for several years, running a marketing team there for a manufacturing company, and our kids were going to school there. And yeah, we always loved Chiang Mai. We're always like, oh, that'd be cool if we could, move there, live there, but, it wasn't practical. Bit by bit, I kept pushing the company that I was working for. Hey, I'm already part-time running the Asia marketing and there's no one out there, and I'm traveling to Asia and supporting our dealers there. Eventually you should just move me there because we have family who's still here in the region and I like it. And eventually they said, okay, let's do it. So we were about to move here, had 3 kids. This is 2019, so right before the pandemic started, and they asked me to resign a few weeks before we moved. So I came to Chiang Mai because we were like, okay, well, this is where we've been heading for a long time. We've been planning on coming here for a long time. So we'll come to Chiang Mai, and I had no backup plan. There was no plan, no network. My LinkedIn hadn't been updated. I took a job with a local nonprofit, a Dutch-Thai NGO, Philanthropy Connections, which is a great local NGO. And I worked for them for close to 3 years. And during the pandemic, my wife got her Thai citizenship, and at that point we had enough remote work that I had collected to start our own business here in Thailand.
Wow, that's incredible. And you made it, and despite a very hard start, because to your point, I can only imagine with the plans of coming to Thailand, you got that rug yanked out from under you, and you still made it work. You didn't give up at that stage.
Well, I would say to people who are interested in coming and setting up a business or exploring a life in Thailand, if you want to come and work or even build an online business or something like that, try to actually have that online business working before you come, right? Have some remote work and come on the DTV visa or something like that. I don't recommend doing what I did, which was come and nothing, like you just have to build it from scratch. We were able to be very, very frugal, rent very cheaply, and it gave us a longer runway to try to build that business. But I mean, 3 years in, at the 3-year mark, that's when things started to kind of get some momentum. It was only in let's say the last year and a half or so, that me and the team have made a concentrated effort to then market ourselves more aggressively. But even that hasn't been that aggressive. It's just more of like creating a brand, being there, showing up. We're hoping to actually get more proactive, going after the kinds of companies and clients that we'd like in 2026. So, fingers crossed.
Well, I love that advice. I just had a call, and sometimes I do take calls with individuals that are looking to come into Thailand,
Right.
and someone had brought up that idea of this business they were going to start when they're here. And it was unfortunately that kind of cliche of, I think I'm going to start a restaurant or a massage parlor or something like that. And I was like, whoa.
You're the first, man,
yeah,
or a
yeah,
bar, right?
yeah,
or a cannabis shop at the moment.
exactly. So there's always that thought that if you could just bring your Western mentality into Thailand, you can make something work. But I think there's a lot of things that you don't know about what happens on the ground, how it works, how you hire people here. There's all these challenges. But I loved your advice because, to your point, the way that it can work is if you build more of an online business abroad and you make it work abroad, because then the location is less central to your business itself. If you're running
100%.
a marketing agency and it works in the US or it works in the UK, then it's very possible that you can transition it to operate it in Thailand. And then you can figure out how you're actually going to set the business up, whether or not it's a remote office in Thailand or whatever. But if you're expecting to start a business on the ground in Thailand and plan that all while you're abroad, that's going to be a tough one.
It can work for sure. I mean, people have come and set up businesses here or restaurants or whatever and made it work. But we've been around long enough to also know that most find it quite challenging, right?
Whoa there, hold up for just 1 second. I'm sorry to interrupt, but if you are struggling with business operations, cultural challenges, or growing your business in Thailand, you are not alone. This market is really tough to navigate. I know because I've been here since 2012 and I've experienced a lot of these challenges myself. That's why I founded Fractioned, a Thailand-based consulting firm aimed at helping businesses succeed in Thailand. My Accenture experience from the US and our community of top consultants from around the world allow us to deliver top-tier strategy and execution to businesses in Thailand. If you want to learn more, you can book a free 15-minute discovery call to see how we can help your business. You can email us at podcast@fraction.io. All right, back to the show. There's a term that you used on your website that really seemed interesting to me. It was that term, calm marketing. And this reminded me of just, I've seen the opposite of this sometimes with companies that I work with. So how would you define calm marketing and how do companies leverage this?
So I think how to define calm marketing first is to define why marketing normally isn't calm. Marketing typically doesn't feel calm to most business owners and even most marketing teams, generally because we're off the strategy or there's no strategy. We're doing a lot of things that keep us busy, but in reality, like the business manager or the owner, they forget what the strategy is. And then we can typically get further and further away from that nice plan that we had started out for good reasons and bad reasons. And then eventually it doesn't feel like that there is a cohesive direction to what we're doing. And so we're just kind of like spinning our wheels. And again, it doesn't feel calm. It doesn't have to necessarily always feel calm and relaxed. When you're at a trade show trying to get a booth set up, not calm and relaxed, But you can always, as you're sweating there here in Thailand trying to get a trade show booth set up in Bangkok, right? You can always go, okay, doing this trade show fits into our larger holistic marketing strategy that we have implemented step by step, bit by bit over this entire year. So even if the actual instance isn't feeling calm, it gives you that foundation that what we're doing is the right thing and we don't necessarily need to be doing something else. We don't need to be looking at someone else and going, oh, why aren't we doing a bunch of TikToks at our booth? Well, we have determined that we didn't, TikTok is either something outside of the constraints or our capabilities this year. So we're not worrying about that. We're worrying about this booth. So that's kind of how I define calm marketing. It's helping make sure that we kind of build a strategy that is very much based in constraints. And then, all right, based on those constraints, what can we do to get in front of them, right? To promote our products and services to them in a way that they'll go, oh, I need that. Maybe not today, but eventually. When you're honest with all that, then you can actually build a sustainable plan. And we do that for then 15 months, typically. I don't like 12 months because around 9 months, everybody's like thinking about what's the next plan. And 3 months is too short. Like we do phase things, but I always like putting it in a 15-month, framework, because then it also forces leadership in the company to think more long-term. So I say, can you afford to keep doing this for 15 months? And when we think about it in that way, a lot of times we start scaling things down. We start pushing aside the things that, shiny object syndrome, and we go, you know what? This is working, or these networking events is where I get the best leads. Because most marketing for most businesses, especially the businesses that we work with, which are kind of more B2B or in commercial or industrial industries, they're very long sales cycles, high trust. A lot of the typical marketing tactics don't work, they can't just like do an ebook and have a newsletter download, or it's just different, right? So I want them to be able to think very long term, because that's generally how their clients buy.
So this really seems calm marketing is the opposite of this reactive marketing or shiny object syndrome. I often see the biggest mistake that companies make is they don't think long term. You have a budget, you have a limitation. So you only have so many hours and time and effort you can put. If you have a very small team, the idea of trying to do 16 things means that they're going to all be done badly. Whereas if you say, you know what, we're going to focus on A, B, and C. A is our primary. We're going to do a little bit of B and a teeny bit of C. Now we're dealing with some constraints and we have a clear strategy. The last thing I'll say on this, Jake, and I'll see if this resonates with you or you agree with it or not, but the term strategy is just so often thrown out. Oh, what's our strategy? And I think oftentimes, a lot of times owners, they think strategy is tactics. And
Right.
so when they're saying, what's our strategy? It's our strategy is we're going to be on TikTok and we're going to be on Facebook and we're going to be on this and we're going to be on that. It's like, that's not strategy. In my opinion, my definition of strategy is focus. Because it's to say, what are we trying to achieve and what are we going to be focusing on? And you can't have strategy if you don't have focus. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
No, 100%. A lot of times clients come to us with a particular pain point, right? The website's broken, or whatever it might be. We need a video, or how much is it to make a video, right? So what I try to then ask is, what is your strategy? Like, where does this fit into the marketing strategy? Or is this a one-off to-do list item? If this is a to-do list item that you want me to do, great. But the deliverable, like the proof of success, is that I fixed your website, not that the website's doing you any good. A more strategic approach is the website should then, convert, prospects into leads and into sales or whatever it might be. So we have that conversation. And this really came from me. I'm not university educated. I am homeschooled. I did 6 months of university. I dropped out because I was like, I can learn all this media and marketing stuff on the job. I was working in marketing and, on YouTube and things. But one of the things that I came from is I was very taskless oriented. Hey, boss, what do you want me to do? Marketing manager comes to me and says, hey, we need to do this and this. I'm like, sweet, I got it. I'll get all those videos shot and locations scouted. And then I worked for 8 years in a manufacturing company that their marketing they were the world leader already. I was just improving and maintaining. I think I did a good job of that. But I never had to start from scratch of questioning our approach or our target market. That was all laid out for me. So when I was suddenly let go and then started working with clients, I started out I'll action your to-do lists. But then I started realizing I need to really learn how to actually build a marketing strategy. I'm reading this book right now, Slow Productivity, and it's a great book. It basically just says, do fewer things, work at a natural pace, and then obsess over quality. And so it's just been a really inspiring read of making sure do less better instead of more worse, like you were saying.
I couldn't agree more. You have to work backwards from what's working and what's getting the most results. And sometimes that's not the thing that's the easiest. You mentioned marketing for your own business, and I saw that you're hosting these workshops in Chiang Mai.
Right.
And I think events, in-person workshops, online workshops, things like this are very interesting. So I'd love if you could share a little bit more about the types of workshops that you lead, why you do them, and whether or not you think some businesses could also leverage workshops as a way to do some level of marketing for their own businesses.
Well, this is interesting because I do a workshop or a talk, a marketing talk, or I'll do a group talk where I'll have different speakers come in. And people are like, oh, how much business did you get from the event? I said, absolutely none. And they're like, oh, that's too bad. I was like, nope, that was the plan. And that comes down to like call marketing, right? We've already figured out why we do events and the cadence in which we do those events. And so it allows me to relax if I don't get any clients. It's a part of our overall marketing strategy because of everything else it brings. So when we do an event, for one, it's great practice for me and my team. So when we started these just over a year ago, it was like, we need the practice, sharing our knowledge, presenting, putting on events, showing that we could actually get people to show up and we know, how to attract people to an event. That's great practice for our team. It puts me on the line. I tell my clients, do events, and then I don't practice what I preach. But the other thing is local networking, and it's interesting, the connections I've made just from hosting these local events. Some of my best friends now are in auxiliary, related businesses that saw I was having an event and popped in. I may have met them another way, and business friends as well. The other thing is I recently hosted an event because everyone kept asking, how do we get more Thai clients for our business? I did a generic marketing business strategy event like 6 months ago, and everybody out of that was like, this was great. But how do we get more Thai clients? Because we are here in Thailand. Some of us have restaurants, some of us. So I was like, I don't know. That's not what I do. So I decided, who cares? I'm going to host the event, but we are going to invite, I already had one speaker, and then we found 2 others. But a young lady who runs a very large business empire, you could say, with hospitality and restaurants and entertainment venues throughout Thailand, saw my ad, basically, in my post saying, hey, I'm looking for people to talk at this event about how to, build your Thai client base. And here I am socially in Thailand. Here she is socially in Thailand. And she messages me and says, can I be a speaker at your event? And now we're friends, right? Lovely person, but still it creates this opportunity to network with people that maybe you would not have networked before with. A lot of clients complain to me that, there isn't a good trade show for our particular niche. I was like, do your own then. And most of them won't because it's outside of the norm. The last thing on that is the marketing collateral. So when I do an event, I try to make sure that the event is at a really beautiful venue, just looks nice, so that all my speakers, including myself, always get amazing photos, amazing video clips, etc. So that when you then, Scott, see the results of some event I hold, it's always like, oh, it says something about Jake, as opposed to just white wall. You see me talking in front of a crowd of 50 people, it says something to you. It starts to click over, not only with potential clients, but potential partners, potential employees, recruitment. This is a great way for recruitment. UI UX designer in Bangkok messaged me on LinkedIn a few weeks ago and just says, hey, look, I want to work with you guys. I love what you're doing. I just want to work with you guys. A really good one too, just from what she saw on LinkedIn. So that's kind of our event strategy. It's great practice. It's great for networking, and it's great for basically your branding and your marketing. do events. Like, my advice to any business is to do events, invite other complementary businesses. Always make sure that your event solves a need. Don't just say, hey, we're going to be talking about marketing. No, how not to lose your mind marketing in 2026, right? Or always solve a problem with your event theme, and yeah, just start hosting them. The first one might suck. The first one for us, I've run events for big companies before, and it was so much work. But now my team is like, oh yeah, cool, another event, sweet. We know what to do. We know how to attract people. We know what we're going to do.
I think there are so many nuggets of wisdom in that. And I think one of the biggest takeaways that I have is that you aren't, when someone asked you how many leads did you get from a workshop or from an event, and you said none, and you said that was, that was what we had planned on. And I think that's really key, because too often businesses are looking for that direct ROI.
Direct ROI,
looking,
yeah.
They're looking like how many leads, how many people signed up after the event. And sometimes the reason that's really bad, in my opinion, is because then they see it as failure and then they don't do it again. And
Right.
to me, you get that momentum by, you're obviously hosting a lot of workshops and you're doing a lot of events. And if it's once a year, or if it's once every blue moon, whenever you say, oh, we have tried other things, I guess we'll try events again, then you're not going to get that momentum.
And we charge for our events too. So we did free ones last year, and then this year we've charged over 1,000 baht for each event. And for a serious person, if you're providing good value and a good networking opportunities at your event, what's 1,000 baht? The next one that we're going to do, I think we're going to do for 2,000 baht, because I have a big influencer in Thailand who wants to do an event with me here in Chiang Mai. And to be able to sit with an influencer who's built up a huge following in a very short amount of time and learn how they did it and get their, ask them questions and get that directly applied to your business, 2,000 baht is like nothing. And it also then helps to maybe weed out some of the people you don't want there. You want the more serious people who understand the value of what you've put on. I don't make any money at those, because we do catering. The venue always has a charge of some sort. So we basically never make any money from them, but I've very much appreciated all the events we've done.
Yeah. Yeah. And you brought up too that a reason that you have to charge for those events too is to pay for a nice venue, as you mentioned. I love the idea of getting good photography and things like that when you're there. But again, my biggest takeaway was just the fact that it's not directly clients. And I'll reinforce that the events that I've spoken at, the groups that I'm part of, the subcommittees I'm part of and whatnot, it's always a couple steps removed, where it's not that I get the direct client, but it's more of that I'm speaking with the right people in the room, or I'm having conversation with people where I'm able to learn from them, or they eventually have a client. And one of the best things that I can find that has happened to me is, whether it be through the podcast or for a speaking engagement that I do, it's when someone says, oh, you're everywhere. I saw you there. Oh, I want you to talk to this person. And I do the same thing for other people, right? I want to connect to other people. That is what networking is. I think networking has this, well, some people think of it as a dirty word, or as like, oh, networking, that's the thing where you have to talk about small talk. It's like, no, I hate small talk, right? I mean, I'm basically day one, I'm talking about politics and religion. No, just joking, sort of. But I talk about deep subjects.
I go there too. Yeah, I have fun with those in a non-confrontational way, where it's like, hey, yeah, we can chat.
Yeah, exactly. Have a real conversation. And sometimes that's what you do when you are at an event, is that you meet the people that are not necessarily even like-minded, but people that are different than you and you can learn from, and you're just getting to know people. But if you're thinking of it as an ROI thing, you're going to be sorely disappointed, aren't you? So
now I treat LinkedIn as well. I'm not here for the hard, quick sell. I'm here to connect with people who would want to connect with me. And then over time, they'll learn who I am and what I do. And that's it.
Yeah, I guess you could say, if you think of LinkedIn as, this is my prospect database, I'm only going to connect with people that I'm going to sell to, right? And essentially say, here are my services. That's just not it. I mean, to me, everyone that I see on LinkedIn is just like you said. It's your thing of connect with people, follow people, understand people. It's not necessarily following that checklist. You talked about checklists before. It's not how many comments, generic comments that I leave on a whole bunch of, people's feeds. It's like, no, it's actually wanting to engage with people, right? And actually wanting to leave a comment because what they posted is interesting to you.
Do you want to hear my quick LinkedIn strategy right now?
Please do,
30 seconds. So basically, me and my assistant send out connection requests to marketers, business owners, managers, and then people I think who might eventually be good for my team. So we think of it from a recruitment tool as well. So those are kind of like the criteria. I don't give my assistant crazy restrictions. It's just like anything that applies to that, go nuts and don't worry about it too much. Then the other thing that he does on a daily basis, he sends me 5 posts from my network of where he knows I can actually have some thoughtful things to say. So I'm running a business. So sorry, no, I'm not going to sit there for 30, 40 minutes a day and connect with people on LinkedIn and then find interesting conversations. My assistant, no AI, my assistant knows exactly what I'm looking for, queues those up for me, and then no AI writes the comments or anything like that. It's me. That way I feel like I can actually write and engage with the person and support what they're doing. So if anybody is looking for kind of like a cheat sheet for how to do LinkedIn, work with an assistant who you give them clear guidelines and they can help you with it. They can be in your LinkedIn. I think that's a great way to connect with the right people in an authentic way and not like turn it all over to AI automations and things like that, while also not sitting there for an hour and a half each day necessarily.
Yeah, what a great way to do it. Because to your point, I think it's easy to dismiss it and get right into the automation thing and say, oh, I'm not doing that, therefore, full automation. And the full automation, guess what? If a million other people are doing full automation, all you end up is with bots responding to bots, right?
Exactly, yeah.
It's losing everything. Now, speaking of that, though, obviously when it comes to video, AI created video is a common thing now. And I want to know if you have an opinion on that or how you deal with video, Jake, for yourself and your clients. Do you do more of the AI generated videos at scale, or do you have a different method?
Well, I have a good friend we did an event together, and he talked about how he grew his YouTube channel to about 800,000 subscribers, sold it to some investors using AI. So we did an event on that because I think there's a time and a place, and there's certain kinds of content that AI can really help you. It's more on the storytelling, like fictional side of things, more entertainment side of things. We're very careful. I mean, we use AI tools on a lot of things. We use Descript for editing our podcast because the AI does a great job of finding all the bad takes and the mistakes that you made and pulling those out. So we look for things that help enhance our team and the storytelling that we're trying to do for our clients. We use 11 Labs for voiceovers and things like that, but typically we end up using a real human voiceover at the end but we use 11 Labs to have this natural voiceover for us to edit around. So yeah, I think a client sent me just the other night, they're in the manufacturing woodworking industry, and they sent me an AI generated video where it's an avatar talking about their product. And it actually really worked well. The script was really good. Like they understand like a Facebook ad script, what it should be, all AI generated. And I just said, what we need to do this is a great example. It's a template. It's a storyboard for us to create a real one. So we're going to have a real person actually do a similar script. We're going to make sure we're using all your real footage because your whole brand is built on authenticity and connection with the customer and your great customer service. Let's not dilute that just because we made this video in 15 seconds and we can throw it up as a Facebook ad. We will take a few hours, we'll record very similar stuff, we'll replicate this and improve upon it. And ultimately, I think that'll be better for your brand, and honestly, people would know it's an AI ad one way or another and don't want you to go that route.
Oh, I love that of using it as a template because to your point, think of it as a wireframe to a website or a storyboard to a movie. It's that you have something to go off of, but then what really matters is you're putting your best foot forward, and that's going to be a human being. Because as you said, I mean, yeah, it's getting better and better, but people can tell when it's that AI avatar doing this, right, and speaking. And to be honest, to me, it's just so off-putting that I wouldn't want to work with a company that I see that.
I don't mind seeing it in entertainment. For business use, we're very careful.
Well, that brings to how to do it correctly, though. So one thing I'm thinking about is as soon as you get off AI and now you're into actually recording a real video with a real human, and you've mentioned before that you've done this with companies in different countries. So that maybe they have their own setup or you're helping them set this thing up. I'm curious about for a company that's trying to get on video more, right? They don't have a huge budget, but they realize they have to put their face forward. They have to actually show the founder or show team members or whatever in these videos, right? I want to know from you, Jake, do you think they need to pay or rent a very expensive studio? Do they need to get the best video equipment? Or what advice do you give these individuals that are trying to get started with video on site?
Good question. It can be really hard, honestly, because if you're not in video marketing, you just see final results from your competitors, or you see TikToks, or you see YouTube, and it can be really hard to reverse engineer what you need to do to get there, which ones actually make sense for you. That can be really difficult to do. So typically what we'll often do is help clients understand what they need to do with video. What's the minimum viable thing? We started a podcast, not video podcast, audio podcast, for an NGO out of Geneva, Switzerland, that interviews diplomats and high-ranking government officials all over the world. And we started it with a phone, right? Because they were like, oh, we need to get noise, good microphones and 2 setups and record this and, in the right room. And I was like, no, you don't. We have AI tools that'll make what you record in a quiet room with a phone sound great and sound like it was recorded in a podcast studio. They didn't believe me, but I was like, hey, your budget's not that big, so you better believe it. They did it, and it turned out fantastic because, of course, then we add music and we pull out like some interesting clips and put those at the beginning, and then we add like a little intro, and then with some of the AI tools to clean up the audio, it sounded fantastic. It was able to get the buy-in from leadership to actually do a full professional podcast for their nonprofit. The most effective videos a lot of times are very informal videos. So, you open your phone, you hold it there, you record something, you present an idea in a nice way, something that solves a problem for someone, gives them advice. That's useful. That's a way to start. You don't need a video agency to start doing that today. You have a better camera than we had 10 years ago sitting on your desk. You might need a coach, to help you formulate your communication strategy, what you're actually getting across, and to help you realize that is enough to get started. As far as like creating a little studio, we work with clients where we shoot content for them from our studio. So we'll actually be, represent their brand. In some cases, a lot of them will help them set up a small studio. And I'm saying for hundreds of dollars, not thousands of dollars, that looks like $1 million, right? It looks perfectly acceptable and nice and professional for what they need to do. Because I want them to feel like it was a lot easier to get going. So that's call marketing, right? If it's easier to get going and to start it up on a smaller scale, then you can keep going with it longer. So actually the, video strategy itself is a bit trickier because a lot of people want to start up video and they cannot last 2-3 months. They can't keep it up after 3 months. So that's really the biggest challenge. It's not the technology, it's not the ability to create scripts or, work with teleprompters or anything like that. It's people's dedication to something longer than 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, I suppose it's just like fitness or anything else. It's easy to say I'm going to go on a diet on January 1st, but it's hard to continue to go to the gym every day when stress builds up, when family stuff builds up. You have to still do it. And to your point, when it comes to video, it's a new neural pathway. It's a new routine. It's a new process. And so I suppose the higher you put that barrier up and say it needs to have A, B, C, D, E, F, G sort of qualifications, it's just making it less likely that you'll ever get started or that you'll ever maintain it. So what you've sort of described with this minimal setup, it seems that you're trying to reduce the friction to get started so that you can test it out faster. And it sounds like you're making it easier to maintain, so there's not excuses to not do it. Which kind of leads me to another question, which is I can imagine some companies thinking, okay, I've seen these professional services firms or whatever else create videos, but it doesn't work for my business. I have this boring business. No one's going to care about that. And I'm curious, do you have any feelings over the types of businesses that this type of marketing might work for, and whether or not boring businesses can actually follow through and follow these steps.
I affectionately call them boring businesses because I come from boring businesses. My first jobs were in landscaping, construction, carpet, and cleaning and things like that. And then manufacturing, right? And a lot of our businesses are in logistics, manufacturing, etc. You see these flashy businesses and things like that selling stuff on TikTok and funny videos and things like that. And you're like, I don't know how I'm going to relate that to my manufacturing business or my parts business. Or video needs to basically have a different goal in different kinds of businesses. So a video that shows a really detailed process can be very, very effective. So I did a lot of videos in 25 plus countries for a manufacturing of sawmilling equipment, right, in the woodworking industry. And the most effective videos that we shot, we put a lot of time and effort in these nice product videos, and, showing all the little features and making, the lighting look beautiful and the slow motion sawdust. And the most effective videos were sitting a camera on a tripod, letting it look at the machine wide shot and letting it run for 20 minutes. Because when someone's going to drop $500,000 on a new line or $3 million on a new line or more, they just want to see how this thing works, how it ticks. They don't want the marketing pizzazz that we throw on everything. They see right through that. They want to just see this work. I want to see 50 logs go through that line. I want to see 50 logs that look like my logs going through that line. If I can see 50 logs that look like my logs go through that line, suddenly now the salesman is having a completely different conversation with that prospect, right? They've seen it, they believe it. They didn't have to fly all the way to, Malaysia to visit an installation. So that's a highly effective use of video. The video guy never wanted to shoot that kind of video. It was like pulling teeth for the marketing team to make things look less sexy, but more suitable to what that prospect was going to be really effective for them. I think there's, personal branding. Video comes into nicely for personal branding. So a CEO or a sales manager, showing up at a trade show in another country and just making a couple short little clips and throwing them on LinkedIn or throwing them on their Instagram or something like that it takes work. Like a lot of us don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I personally don't want to put myself on video. I just don't. I have other things I want to do, I need to do. But forcing yourself to start not worrying about everything being perfect, getting over the cringe factor, like, oh no, like I said something funny, or I'm going to look funny to that high school buddy of mine from 20 years ago who sees this video. Stop caring about all of that and just start, documenting what your business is doing, what customers you're seeing in some way, shape, or form. That can be really, really useful.
The thing that really resonated with me, Jake, is I love that example of the sawmill sort of video showing them how it's actually working. Because to your point of the polish, I think sometimes we do those things for ourselves, right? So we want to put our best foot forward. But I think oftentimes if you can swallow your pride a little bit, then you can actually create some more authentic videos that are real. And I think for years and years, companies have tried to look bigger than they are. They try to look more polished. We sometimes forget that some of the best videos, it's not always about putting your best foot forward. Sometimes it's about sharing your journey. It's about sharing, like you've shared in this video during this podcast recording. We've talked about how you were fired, right? I've been fired. I've lost clients. If you can divulge that, guess what? Everyone's experiencing those tough things. And so we have to remember to be authentic. I'm thinking about like Apple. They put the polish on it. There's a place and a time for them to show the polished product on their video. However, we have to also remember that some of the best viewed videos on YouTube are people unboxing Apple products
and dropping them, right? On the
and
ground.
dropping them, right? Absolutely. Yeah. How does it deal with the fall, right? It's like, and so that is the real life thing. I mean, for the unboxing, just to keep it simple, right? In that case, it is literally if I spend X amount of dollars or bot or whatever, what will it look like? What do I get in the box? Like, is this the thing that I want to buy? So I tend to watch reviews of products quite a bit because I want to know if I'm spending my hard-earned money, what am I getting from it? I don't want the polished view. I want the
Yeah.
real view. And so I think that when we're thinking about video, when we're thinking about all the other marketing topics that you've shared, when you talk about the workshops, we don't need perfection. That's just a message that I'm getting through this whole conversation, Jake, is we're not seeking perfection. We're seeking truth, honesty, transparency. Some people are scared to share their pricing. Whereas I'd argue that if someone has the question and you're the person that answers the question, this is my prices, this is why, this is how I do, this is who I do work with, this is who I don't work with, you're going to be able to filter out the people better that are right for you
100%.
versus just trying to show how perfect you are, right? None of us are perfect.
Yeah, I interviewed a good friend of mine, Minnie, from Tied Up with Minnie, Instagram and TikTok. And that interview is on our YouTube channel. And I just asked her, because she had 120,000 subscribers between those two platforms in less than a year. And she didn't necessarily take the shortcuts that some people take in order to grow those. She let them grow organically, and she was herself. And it was really, I mean, her main things were be yourself, but learn how to give the audience what they're wanting. Learn what that is, because they were wanting to learn something. They're wanting to be entertained by something. They're wanting insight into something. Learn to package that, because that packaging takes time, right? You don't do that out of the gate perfectly. And then just be consistent, and for her, be herself. I think where we often can help is helping coach people with video so that they're focused on the video aspects that make sense. And then we can edit that, right? So that's a big step of the process. It's like, okay, now we have this footage. Now what do we do with it? Someone internally can do that. You can hire someone on Fiverr to do that. We work with quite a few clients now, YouTube creators and then businesses, where just we have a video plan. They're producing that video in various ways, and then we're editing for them, just sharing stuff back on Google Drive. Like, it's not that complicated. We have good editors who understand the different styles and approaches, right? And I'm very careful. I've edited and managed editing editors for now close to 20 years. I know how to set that up in order to get the right results on budget and on a consistent basis, right? So that can be another big bottleneck, is we have all this footage. I have a lot of clients I've run into. We have all this footage and nothing's been done with it for 3 years. So if you have a lot of footage, work with an editor to start getting through it, but be intentional about what you're actually doing, and don't try to get it all done at once either.
Yeah, that's why I like your point of working with a coach for that, because I do think that you could have all that footage somewhere and then you go to Fiverr and say, I've got all this footage somewhere. But remember, a lot of the individuals, I'm not saying the individuals that you find on Fiverr are not skilled, right? But if they're not directed, if you're not describing to them what you're using it for, how you want to use it, what you want to get across,
very clear in your briefs. You have to be very clear in your briefs what you're wanting to get out of that with someone who's new to your business or is maybe a slightly inexperienced editor.
Yes. Now, to broaden things up a little bit more, again, if you were to just give a broad overview of what you think marketing tactics are working best this year and maybe in the coming year, Jake, if you could kind of summarize that for us. And of course, we know that this is going to depend on the business and things like that, but I'm just looking for general trends. Which way are things going? What things are tending to work a little bit better nowadays than before?
Sure. I'm not going to hit everything perfectly. So for all you nitpickers out there, I'm sorry. But SEO, I know there's some major challenges with traditional SEO theoretically based on a lot of the changes that have been made in the last couple of years. But a friend of mine literally just started a business and their first client came from ChatGPT, because their website was well optimized in a local niche here in town that isn't very well populated. And ChatGPT found that right away. So that's SEO of various kinds is going to continue to be something that will evolve, change, and you should not discounted as, oh, we just don't need to worry about that anymore. Local listings, if you're a local business, make sure your, Google My Business or whatever they call it now is optimized and updated, and you got Google reviews coming in on a regular basis, and make sure that you have processes to make sure that that happens. On video, figure that out for your business if you haven't figured it out. I would say that would be something to work on, is figure out what kinds of videos make sense for your business. Don't waste time on videos that don't. Facebook ads still work well in many cases, right? Facebook corporate pages, no, don't worry about those anymore, basically. Personal branding is, I think, much more important now than a corporate Facebook page or a LinkedIn page or anything like that. Invest in personal branding for you and your staff. Understand in the company what that means, right? Like, we're advocates, and we're going to actually encourage our staff to invest in their personal brand, because that's also very much a holistic approach. Yeah, you're going to have turnover eventually, right? But invest in the people who are, representatives of your company. Networking, in-person events are, I think, super, super valuable. Not all of them, but again, do your own events. Stop whining about this event's so boring, it's always the same people. Host your own event then.
Yeah.
And that's basically my list at the moment that I can give off the top of my head.
I think the thing that ties that all together is just, when it comes to SEO, it's like, if you're delivering good information in a way that's useful to an individual, it's going to be useful to a search engine, it's going to be useful to ChatGPT and other AI. If you're creating content that's resonating with people, it's going to resonate with other people that want to buy your product, right? So to your point, it seems a little bit it seems like everything's trying to cut through the noise. And so no one's really seeking out some LinkedIn or Facebook company profile. They're doing business with people. They want to trust people. And so the people that are out there sharing good information, whether it be on video, it'd be on podcast, it'd be on their website, it'd be on FAQ sections, share good information and people come to you.
I skipped AI when I gave that list. Definitely invest in that and look into that. But definitely don't just throw everything into AI and do more. Yeah, that would be the opposite of way you want to go. You want to implement it thoughtfully. It changes so quickly as well, so that's something to keep in mind. Is the investment that you're going to make in this one AI tool or process worth it, even if it becomes out of date in 3 months? So we're pretty careful with what AI steps and stuff that we implement. We don't build like these massive workflows where everything, when this happens, that happens. Now, there are cases to be made for that, different business operations and things, but just be conscientious that AI is not the savior of the world yet. And maybe the less of you do of it a little bit is okay. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. And so with that said, I'd love if you could share the best way for individuals to either follow you or get to know you or connect with you.
Well, there's a few Jake Mooneys running around, but if you search Jake Mooney Thailand on Google, all the main things will come up in our website, greenlightstudio.co, and you can find us. Between those two things, you can find us different ways.
All right, Jake, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm sure we will chat again soon, and thanks again for joining us.
Thanks, Scott.